Thank you for joining Beyond the Workbench, a podcast where Odin Clack and Michael Magnus discuss life, business, and how to help entrepreneurs grow and innovate.
Well, welcome back. We're back again for another episode of the Beyond the Workbench podcast. Can't believe we're still saying that. That's amazing. This is our 6th, 7th, 8th episode, I think, at this point, conversation, which is great. I'm Odin Clack with Odin Leather Goods, and I have my co-host here, Michael Magnus with Magnus Opus, my buddy and friend who we've been talking about doing this for years, and we're just going to keep the party going with this episode. How are you doing, sir?
Good. It is a busy time. School's starting back, and the kids' activities really kind of kicking off. You always think you're busy until the kids get busy, and then you realize how busy things really can be, because it doesn't matter how much of a priority you think your things are, kids still gotta get to where they need to go. It's a humbling reminder sometimes.
Absolutely. In fact, we're being transparent. We're actually recording we intended to record previous day, and I had some things come up with my kiddos that I'd apparently bad dad. I didn't know. I forgot they were going on. I didn't know about it. We had to shift on last minute. So thanks for shifting things around for me. I appreciate that. You're right. It is a busy season with all the kids. We've got homecoming here, which is a big deal, and here in Texas. My kids are running around doing that. Parades tonight, games start tomorrow. So it's going to be a busy few days for the Clack crew.
Yeah, and we, in our house, my daughter just got into the middle school musical. So evening rehearsals every night between now and November. And then once they get closer to the show, there's some 8 to 5 rehearsals. It's like it's a job.
Yeah, I've seen the musicals here in the area, and they are no joke. These aren't the same old little recitals and things that we did when we were kids. These are real deal, and I know your daughter and your wife. This is not like they show up to play. They show up to win when they do anything theatrical, right?
Yeah, I think it's for my family kind of the equivalent of pageants for yours. It's just it's something that take very seriously.
Well, you probably enjoy it a little more than I enjoy the pageants, though.
How many middle school musicals have you sat through?
Well, that's one. My daughter, that was about enough for me. People call and they say, "Hey, my kid's doing a musical this weekend or this week at school. Will you come support?" I'm like, "I will send you a check for $5 for the cost of the ticket, but I will not go and see that play because I've seen enough middle school plays. I appreciate it, but it's a lot."
Now, to be fair, their school is a performing arts school, so
a little different.
It is far and away much better than like when I was in How the Penguins Saved Christmas in 5th grade. Like it's.
Yeah, I have a little more faith. I mean, we had a good program in Cop Hill, but I think I have a little more faith in your folks and your daughter than our school time. We had a good school, but it was a little rough around the edges. It wasn't as fun. Plus, those little middle school chairs are our elementary school chairs. They are not the most comfortable to sit in for 2 hours. So I'll pass.
That's true. Now, we touched on this a couple episodes back, but I do think one of the things that is relevant and important to bring up with any of that is just the fact that now there's a lot more intentionality behind time management.
Yeah,
and just so what are some of the things that you're working on and how are you prioritizing things to make sure that you still get everything done that you need to get done without kind of sacrificing what's important to the family?
Ooh, my friend. So get everything done that needs to get done without sacrificing things that's important to the family. Yeah, well, it's a work in progress. I'll say that. It's a definitely a work in progress. I don't often sacrifice things regarding the family other than purely just sitting around doing nothing. That's the one thing I just cannot do. When school's in, the kids are busy, I'm always there, right? If they need something, that's nothing gets me out of this workshop faster than my kids needing something. I mean, it could be a doc's appointment. I want to be the one that takes them to the doc's appointment. I think tomorrow, Dad Duty has me doing all that stuff tomorrow and Thursday so they can, actually, no, tomorrow's game night, so I'm shutting down early, right? I've got to drive to my son's football game. I don't care. I don't know what's going on here. When it's about 4:00, I'm shutting down. I'm just leaving, and the shop will be here when I get back. Luckily, I have a great team here. In fact, you've met some of them recently. They will hold the shop down for me, and I have great faith in them. So really don't think anything's more important than that. And then after that game, I'm rushing back to our neck of the woods to go to my daughter's game. So luckily, tomorrow they're offsetting, which is great. Yeah, that's just a strong commitment. Kids get me to leave. It's easy, right? It's all the other little bitty things, like going to the doctor or, getting the oil changed or random things like that I have a hard time leaving the shop for, because it seems like no matter when I leave or how intentional I leave, it seems like it all takes 2 hours. Nothing like, there's no sense of I'm going to leave and come back real quick. It never works that way. So I hate leaving. But kids and wife, completely different story.
One thing that I will say about having been to your shop recently that I'm very impressed with, though, is that the way that you guys have everything merchandised and laid out.
Thank you.
Is that it does a lot of work for you when people come in. But we had a meeting not long ago after hours, and it was incredible to see how many people were still, had foot traffic from the wine bar and things like that, and how many of them still were window shopping after hours, and like even saw some take out their phone and scan the QR code and take pictures of the store. So I do think that you're talking about leaving and whatnot and how that's a struggle, but I will say that I think a lot of the preparation that you guys have done serves you really well. Just looking at how much foot traffic and attention the storefront gets, even when you're not there.
Well, I appreciate you noticing that. That's the area that we're always growing in, because neither Rochelle, my wife, or I have a background in retail, certainly not in retail merchandising and marketing. So it's something we've had to learn and by trial and error. We've made some really good changes recently, but I'll circle back to leaving. One of the ways I am reminded that I can leave at times is by knowing that there's a team here, and I have, my folks who they prove over and over again how capable they are, right? In fact, they're more capable when I'm not here, if I'm being honest, than when I am here. So when I'm here, I get lots of questions. I can't really get anything done because they're always ask me this or ask me that, which is fine. That's what I'm here for. When I'm not here, they really respect the fact that I'm not here. And you know what? Things move on. Things are taken care of. They don't really need me when I'm not here. And then with regards to the retail merchandising, what you said, again, thank you for the compliment. It reminds me that that's really Rochelle. My wife has really taken to the merchandising space. When we first started, it was a little bit of both. I was probably doing more. I was concerned about this detail and that detail. And either she got sick and tired of me, like, me having so many opinions, and she's like, I'm going to do it myself. However she got there, she's there. And she manages the retail store. And so I do come through it, and occasionally I give her like a different perspective of how I see things. But really, it's her domain, and she's done a wonderful job. And so whenever anyone comes by, and I have people here today, they have customers that were in the store even later than the normal, they talk about the retail space. I see it every day, so I don't know if I'm as amazed with it anymore because I'm here every day. But it is very nice to hear them compliment it, and I can tell them very quickly. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with her. She does a phenomenal job with that. And she's really good about, like, whenever we go shopping elsewhere and we go to other boutiques, she's always looking at how they're doing things and picking up little things. She takes little notes, takes pictures. I like this, like that. This works, doesn't work. And she brings those ideas back to us. So because of having the good team, I've had trust in them now, and I can also leave occasionally when I need to.
Does she get to write off shopping as R&D?
Not at all. No, actually, that's lying. Some things actually we can. We do that. Writing things off. That's a whole other episode we should do. Probably with an attorney and an accountant next to us as we talk.
Yeah.
But you could cover that angle, because writing things off is something I've never been good at. Right? I don't like playing games. I don't like being risky. But there's probably far more stuff like shopping in boutiques and taking notes and stuff like that we could write off. So note.
Yeah, I will note for the audience listening right now that is not tax advice. That's just us. But one thing I did notice when I was in the shop is that, I know traditionally you don't do a ton of tooling, but you have a lot of tooled items. You're getting ready for a pretty big show for you guys and ramping up for Christmas. Talk to me a little bit about just kind of your Q4 strategy, because I know we're getting close to end of the year. So how do you guys prepare in your shop to plan now to be successful?
Well, the first step in planning for Q4 in the holiday season is to start talking about it in the spring and tell yourself to talk about it every week thereafter, that it's coming, it's going to be here before you know it. And then when it finally gets here, you're like, oh man, we should have actually done something about it in the spring when we started talking about it. So that's a normal occurrence here. It's here now. I mean, we're almost in Q4. It's mid-September. It seems like the year just started, and I don't know if anyone else's to-do list looks like mine, but I don't think I've hit a stride on that to-do list just yet. I've got like 3.5 months to get it done, but in about 20 days, we're going to be 15, 20 days, we'll be in Q4. We are starting to see the pressures and the busyness jump up for the holiday season. We're starting to get those corporate people calling us, hey, we've got gift baskets, we want to do this, we want to do that. Events are filling a calendar for us. I don't know if we are doing anything specific to like cultivate these events coming our way and different opportunities coming our way, but we are certainly trying to do a better job of managing them and planning them out, understanding that it's not just saying yes or no to an order that comes through or an event, that comes up. It's okay, what goes into doing that thing? Is there enough time to do the sourcing of materials? Is there enough time to do that, given that we have 2 other events this week? But we got to order for 3,000 pieces. They're small pieces, right? That's still, even small pieces, that's a lot of work, and they've got to be done in 2 weeks. As I'm planning for that, I'm also thinking about, well, what else do we have going on, right? What inventory do I need to make to stock the store? Because if we're working on that order, then we're probably not going to be making inventory items for the store. And we have, to your point, we have this big event coming up in Louisville called Western Days. It's an annual event that comes up every year. Well, I also need to make sure I have enough stuff in the store to support that major festival. There'll be 20, 30,000 people come through our little neighborhood in 2 days. I want to make sure we have the right stuff and enough stuff to support those purchases. Can I do that? Can I make inventory? Can I go through the store and figure out where the gaps are with our inventory and do the big 3,000 piece order at the same time? Well, we're going to figure it out, right? Hopefully nothing suffers, but that's the type of thing. And then I even got an event that came through the wire today for someone asking us to do events in December. Okay, cool. Probably not a big deal for us to do that event, but what else is already lined up? Events in December mean that we're not doing production work as much, which means that we've got to do production work before then so we can keep up with all the holiday orders. It's all this stuff we're trying to balance. I don't know if I have the perfect formula for it yet, but it is a consideration. It also is our opportunity to hit our numbers, right? If we are not on track to hit our numbers this year, we have to make up for that all in these last 3.5 months. And I've never not hit my numbers for the year. I barely hit my numbers for the year before. This is the last push. And so we're going to try to make the best of it by planning all these things out, or trying to plan it out.
And I think one of the other things that's kind of intangible with that as well is that it's not just getting ready for the show and for the holiday season and for this custom order. But as you plan all of those things, what you're not doing is product design or figuring out how to increase the conversion rate on your website.
Don't make me cry.
Which, because we had somebody in our class let us know that maybe there's some opportunities.
Hold on. Let's make sure everyone listening understands this, because hopefully these students are listening to us right now. The thought was that conversion rates on the website should be 15%. I said they should be 2.5%, 3%. I'll let everyone know I was correct. Okay. But she had me on my heels. Like, she had me really questioning life from her. Like, am I really that wrong? Like, how can I be that wrong? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she was sure. Maybe we were talking about 2 different metrics. However, I was right. Yeah, I was right. But the point was that who's right, who's wrong doesn't matter really. It's that we want to improve. And you're right. If I'm doing all this other stuff, I'm probably not doing, this is what I would say, the running the business task. Worried about the website, worried about product development and design. I mean, you're absolutely right. I've got 3 or 4 projects that I swore I was going to have designed this year, and I've just barely got the first draft of those things out.
Well, and it's one of those things of trying to find the balance of how do you work on the business when you're working in the business. And if anybody has the magic formula, let us know, because
I'll tell you what I'm trying. I am trying to spend time away from here. Mm-hmm. Now, not in the same sense we talked about like leaving for other family stuff. I have noticed about myself, I need a change of scenery. And being here means that I'm going to get asked questions. And I should. They seem to ask me questions. What about this? And what color is this leather? And well, my solution recently has been, okay, like I need to pick a day of the week that I'm not going to be here in the shop. And basically I'm creating boundaries, right? And so instead of forcing them not to talk to Odin because he's busy on Mondays, I'm just not going to be here like on a Monday or Tuesday morning and be in a coffee shop or be my buddy with a workspace down the street, and I may go sit there with my laptop, and that will maybe be my dedicated design time and marketing time, or dedicated, laser time. And we may have talked about this once before, but I'm trying to do some time blocking throughout the week. and say that, hey, team, via me not being here or via me just having my hat on backwards, you can see that I'm heads down in this thing for the next X amount of time. Give me space, because I think with my ADHD and whatever's going on as I get older, multitasking is not a good thing anymore. It used to be like everybody wants to be a multitasker. I think I'm in the mindset now that multitasking sucks.
Well, I agree that I've gotten to that point, because what I find is that when I multitask, I don't get anything finished. And that is really one of the things that I've had to be very intentional about focusing on, is finishing things. What you're talking about with leaving is actually probably really good for the team as well. There's a book that I remember reading, I believe it's called Turn the Boat Around, something of that nature. And kind of a historical story of a guy who was a captain. Everybody's coming to him asking questions, and the way that he kind of rights the ship, the way that he turns this poor performing team into an exceptional team, is he says, I want you to come to me with a plan. I want you to come to me with, I intend to, and then I can tell you yes, or I can tell you no, or I can give you feedback. But the moment that you come to me and ask me how to, I have to stop everything that I'm doing. And if I don't have time to do that right now, you're waiting for me to give you something. And I try to do that with a lot of the people that I work with and collaborate with and mentor. Come to me with a proposed solution, and I may tell you a totally different way to do it, but you have at least gone through the exercise of problem solving. And to be fair, you may come up with something totally better than I would have come up with in the first place. Kind of reminds me, there's a story from the Richards Group. It's a big advertising agency in Dallas that famous for, Motel 6 will leave the light on, a lot of other major campaigns. And they used to have a practice that when they did pitch ideas, creative pitches, the person who presented first was the most junior person in the room. And it was for several reasons. One was, often they had the most innovative idea because they weren't bound by kind of convention and the history and everything. But really, the other thing is that if their, manager presented an idea, they don't want to come behind them and present their idea, which is different, because that seems like they're trying to undermine them, right? Sure. And so sometimes the exercises of just having the most junior people take ownership of pieces of it, just to see how they would come up with it. I often find that I learn more from the people that I'm working with, that I'm mentoring, that I feel like I'm training them, and then they'll come up with a way to do something that I end up adopting.
So as I hear you say that, my mind automatically goes in two different directions. So I've got my corporate life. Some people know I've done this corporate, big company, big brand stuff for a while. In that respect, I always build these great teams, and not to brag on my work, but I've been able to build and be a part of these really fantastic teams of people, individuals. And that tends to be my leadership style, which is, I'm here to support you. You bring the ideas, let me support you. I'll help you redirect here and there as needed, but you guys are adults, professionals. You wouldn't be here if you didn't deserve it. Works really well. However, now when I flip back to my space, right, Odin Leather Goods specifically, when I don't have the layers of leadership, it's Rochelle and I, and then it's everyone else, right? There's no mid-level there, which is it was just a mistake, to be honest with you. I think that's what we have to develop, and we have people to develop. I mean, yes, we're only a team of 9 people. I say only. That's massive. For me, it's massive, right? But even within that, there's some individuals. I mean, they are more than capable of making decisions without us. When we're not around, I don't think they realize how phenomenal they really are and how they really shine when we're not around. I mean, it's very rarely that I come back and say, oh, that's not the decision I would make. We need to change that back. No, usually I'm like, no, maybe I would have done something different. But, given that I wasn't around and I don't have a solution right now, I think what you did, what you decided was perfectly fine and works well. And probably I'll say that way because I don't have time to give you anything else. So, yeah, let's do it your way. Right. So that's an area that we probably need to develop. And anyway, it's just a reminder that there's space, even in small teams, to have this layered approach of decision making. And it's okay to say, no, Rochelle, you go do this, or Riley or Brandon or Drew, you guys go do this, and whatever you decide is fine. I'm not there. You're okay. The risk is pretty low, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And when we even had that with the podcasts recently. I mean, as hopefully with any luck, this is our first episode with video. Yeah, that didn't come from either of us.
Because we actually said, oh, we're going to hold off on video for a while. Right. That was the decision we made. It's like, oh, we're not ready for that. But tell us more about how we got here.
Well, we have an editor, Wolf Diaz, with Instrumental Media, and he's been great to work with. A little bit of a younger guy. Tried to take him under my wing a little bit because I recognize talent. I also like building teams. He went to a big podcast convention recently. I had actually gotten the invitation from somebody I know and was unable to take the 4 days, and was glad to kind of sponsor him to go and absorb a lot of that knowledge. And he came back and just had a ton of ideas that, I think when you and I started a podcast to a degree, it was like, we'll just do this and maybe someone will listen to it and it'll be fun. And here we are. I think we have, as of right now, 6 published episodes and almost 500 hours of people having listened to us ramble on, right? Like, but it's a casual endeavor for sure. But after coming back from this podcast conference, just had a lot of great ideas. And one of them, recognizing that 50% of people who listen to podcasts are actually listening to it on YouTube because they can switch from devices. They can watch it on their TV. And that was a thing that we were like, well, if you're telling us we need to do video, we trust you, because I'd like to think that we're 2 fairly smart guys when it comes to marketing and business and whatnot. But I will not claim to have any expertise in podcasting. So if somebody does get some of that knowledge, and I'm here to listen to them. So
he really dug in a space that we weren't prepared to dig in just yet. And it's kind of the nitty gritty, the minutia of this new, media environment. And we were comfortable just kind of sitting on the sideline. It's like, yeah, this is a casual conversation. He dug in, and the things he brought back, some of them were really eye-opening. Some of them were like, just good reminders like, okay, guys, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. You can do this. You're already doing part of this. Just go half step further and you're there. It was cool to see someone dig in and have a sense of, this is what you guys could really be doing here. This is why you should do it. You and I, family guys, jobs, we make a lot of decisions during the day. I know I'm definitely looking for ways to not make more decisions and to say, no. Wolf, in this case, he's got the information. He's dug in. I trust him. Magnus trusts him. If he says we should be doing this, yeah, let's get it done. It makes sense. And he did a good job leading me through that and making me feel comfortable with it. So yeah, this is hopefully our first video podcast. If not, I guess it'll be the next one. We'll see. If you're seeing this right now on YouTube, it's our first. If you're not, it will be the next one, right? It means we figure it all out, hopefully. But I love it. I think it's a good idea.
And I think there's an important lesson to learn there, in that, a lot of the time we think of mentorship as kind of being omnidirectional, right? Like I am mentoring that person over there. But what I find is that often the more generous I am, often that's when I get the most back.
Yeah, sure.
I often will learn as much from, when I was teaching, I learned as much from my students as they learned from me, because they, if nothing else, they would ask me really hard questions. And I never thought about that. Now I have to think about that. And I really believed I had a grasp on what I was talking about. And so I think whether it's new ideas or whether it's having fresh perspective or somebody to kind of challenge what you think I encourage people to mentor others, because it's really like one of the most selfish things that you can do in the long run.
Well, it reminds me of another idea, is that mentoring we would give to them, right? But to your point, we're really opening ourselves up to diversity of thought and ideas, right? And that can come in any direction. It can come from someone younger. It could be gender. It could be socioeconomic. It could be race, ethnicity. It could be all these different things, right? But the diversity of thought is so good, if nothing else, to just challenge your own paradigm, right? I don't think she's listening right now, but I'll tell you, my wife, oftentimes I tell her, I need you to challenge me. I need you. By the way, I think I'm right. I'm 98% sure I'm right about most things in life. I'm not, by the way, but that's how I go into it. It's my opinion. I give it wholeheartedly and I give it with some force. But I need a challenge. To go through life with no challenging of your thoughts is, one, it's lonely. And two, it can be confusing. It's a burden also. Like, no, help prove to me I'm wrong. I should not be doing this thing, or help prove to me that I'm right by, validating these ideas, because I'm just making stuff up as I go, right? I think I'm right, but oof, I need something to bounce it off of. And people like, business partners, wives, spouses, interns, all help with that, even if they don't realize it. Making me explain myself more than once, I mean, to some extent, teaches me that I didn't do a good job explaining it the first time. I had Brandon was asking me earlier this week, like, about this technique about lining a bag or something like that, and I was trying to explain it. In my mind, it makes complete sense. He was like, "Dude, he was like, I have no clue what you're talking about." I was like, "Well, you know what? That's a good point. I need to come at this a different way."
I've also found that if I can't explain it clearly, I don't fully understand it myself. And so sometimes that explaining it to other people, the teaching part of it is really good for making sure that you have a solid grasp. And I think we could do an entire episode, and probably should at some point, on, one, on the value of teaching, but also embracing criticism, because I think that that's one of the areas that doesn't always make us feel great, but it always makes us do better.
I agree. I need it. I don't always want it, but I absolutely do. I absolutely do need it. So I agree. That's a good episode. We should work that in sometime soon. Maybe bring in some other voices that can maybe talk about from a clinical side, or I don't know. We'll see. It's a good topic for us to dig into for sure. Anything else new going on in your workshop or in your world, work wise, that you want to share?
My birthday is coming up. Actually, when this releases, it will be my birthday week. And I think that's always a time of self-reflection and just kind of, where am I? What am I doing? Things like that. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because a lot of things are still in the works, but I do have some exciting things kind of on the horizon, and still fleshing out some of what that looks like and how that's going to be set up. But it's certainly one more thing to do as well. So trying to make time for new ideas, and making sure that I don't do that at the expense of completing the things that I have in front of me, because it's new and it's shiny. And so that certainly makes it feel more rewarding than just kind of doing the monotonous things that I've become accustomed to doing. But those are important too. And so finding that balance. But yeah, I'm sure there will be more discussed around that in future episodes, because there's some kind of interesting things in the work.
Well, I'm privy to some of those concepts you've been bouncing around. I'm really excited for them. I think you got a lot of good stuff on the horizon, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of that stuff starting to come out. But I'll keep it to myself for now. But are there any projects that you can talk about? I'd remiss if I didn't ask you about, you have someone in your household that started a new project, and it's leather related. So I'm pretty excited about hearing about it. But your little guy there has a whole new business he started. Have we talked about that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Our last episode, we had Jeff come and talk about sales. And I think maybe in the future, we'll just have my 7-year-old come and talk about sales, because
he teaches all something.
Oh, he's got it down, because he's my 7-year-old. He has business cards, naturally, but he is started making dog collars. And my kids actually have a nonprofit organization, like a legitimate 501c3, called Pictures Helping People, where they sell art and raise money for different charities. And it's cute, but it's raised like 10 grand over the last 8 years. So it's a noble effort. And Zane has decided that by selling dog collars, he can raise some money for ASPCA and just kind of some of these different organizations. But his approach is hilarious to watch, because we'll go to the dog park, and he made our dog's collar. There's probably a lot of really interesting gems of wisdom in this whole shenanigans, but he made a dog collar for our dog, who is a golden doodle, who, when we go to the dog park, she's very friendly. She'll run around. She loves to be pet by strangers. Zane has like a whole line. He's like, "Oh, my dog is so kidnappable. She loves everybody. They think he's cute. They think she's cute." He asks if he can pet their dog. They say, "Oh, yes, of course." And so he starts a conversation. He's like, "Do you like her collar?" They're like, oh, yeah, it's very nice. I made it. I actually make them and I sell them. I noticed that your dog could use a collar. And when you decide that you're ready, I can make you one. And even some of that money goes to help animal shelters and different things. And man, it's beautiful to watch. Like it does my entrepreneur heart happy to just watch my 7-year-old go and hustle dog collars at the dog
And
park.
hustle's a good word, because I mean, if you're watching this, you can see me smiling and giggling here on the side, because I have the visual of this going on, because I know your son. I see his picture, I see his face, and all these things, and I just imagine he's like just reeling them in slowly. They don't even know what's happening to them while he's talking to them, and they're just coming closer, closer. And he's like, "Boom, I got you," and there's no escaping the cuteness and the sale. I mean, how are you going to tell the kid no at that point? So
And then he hits them with the business card, and they're like, you have a business card, and then it's done.
Well, I'm waiting for you to give the kid a credit card machine and then walk around with that. And like he whips the business card out first, and then he hits him with a trial close, and he says, "Okay, now that I got you, I take, check, cash, credit cards, debit, tap, whatever you need. That's what you got to give him." So he'd clean up.
He actually, for Pictures Helping People, we have Shopify store, and when we do tabling events, he'll be the one running the point of sales on the iPad. He doesn't want anybody else to do it. Like he gets in the zone.
That's the best part.
Yeah, he just gets the little hit of dopamine from making a sale. So.
That's so cool. That's so cool to see him do that. My kids have done a little bit in the past, but I think I'm going to maybe have to position them to challenge their kids on some of these things and say, hey, like Max's kids they're cleaning up. I don't know what you guys did this weekend. Football, volleyball. Is that all? Is that all you did this weekend? Come on, got to go out there and make some money, earn some money, make some money, give it away, whatever. But we got to do something. So,
although we do have a mantra in our house that comparison is the thief of joy. Sometimes it is a good motivator, but often it is the thing that inhibits our happiness. So,
well, I don't want my kids to be too joyful sitting at home on the PlayStation or something. I want them to be joyful out there. So sometimes comparison is the bringer of the foot to the butt. Get in motion. So I guess it's all perspective and context. My kids actually, they're great kids. They do a lot. I don't have the game kids. They don't sit around all day, but. And my neck of woods project-wise, we are getting ready for holidays. We already talked about that, but I did get hit. I won't talk about. Well, I think I may already mentioned we got hit with a pretty big project this week, and I'm really, really excited about it. That's going to keep the shop going for a while, and lots of events coming up, things like that. So I think I may have already mentioned those things, but the shop is in full swing. Funny, oddly though, because we see the full swing coming, the pendulum is starting to move back towards breakneck speed we're going to be so busy, but it's been a little slow on the retail floor and a bit a little slow in the workshop. We're finding leather, we're finding things to keep us busy, but only because we know these big things are coming our way. So that's been a little odd the last few days, but it doesn't feel slow, but it's like, yeah, let's not start this, let's not start that, let's not dig in here because we know we're going to be swamped in a few days. We may as well wait for this thing to happen. So it is a bit of a strange space to be in, but we starting to see that pendulum come back our way now. And once it hits, it'll be full speed until the end of the year. Get anything, if you're listening, you got orders, you got something you need done, give us a call real quick because pretty soon the answer is going to be, yeah, but not until January.
Well, I will say thank you for making time to still do this. I know that this is fun for us, right? And we have set up a Patreon and we have some other things in the work but this is time that we take away from our jobs and our families to hang out and share some insights. And so I just know that it is appreciated to take the time. And
it is fun though.
Yeah, it's fun. And excitingly, we've put the call to action out before of if you have questions, let us know. And somebody did reach out. And so I wanted to share that question as part of tonight's conversation. But Soulbound Leather reached out on Instagram and said, so I've been listening to the podcast. I love it so much. An episode about how to get out of custom work or how to get more wholesale type of work would be awesome. And I said, yeah, that's great. Do you have anybody you'd suggest that we talk to about that? And she said, Odin. I do think that's a great topic, is just how do you make that shift from custom work to doing more production work and maybe in some cases even wholesale work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good topic, and we've heard this topic come up before. We've directly and indirectly we've heard this. But before I jump in, I just want to mention Selma. I've come in contact with her on Instagram numerous times, and I don't know if I found her or she found me, but she does phenomenal work. She's a hustler. I mean, she's got some pretty wild things going on there. She does a lot of custom work. I know she's had a lot of changes with her shop. I think she just recently moved into a new shop. So the fact that she's gone from that hobby stage to having a retail store alone tells you a lot about what's going on with her. I mean, she's out there. She's moving. This isn't someone that is sitting at, the hobby stage and dreaming. She's past dreaming. I'm sure she is dreaming, but she's not sitting idle. So she spends a lot of time. I think she was making a lot of sheaves. And so, if I get some of these details wrong, I really apologize. We kind of follow each other from afar through these social media channels. And the one thing I'm sure she would agree with on me is what we present on social media, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, is only one angle into our lives and our businesses. From the angle in which I see her business, I think she's doing great. I mean, it looks phenomenal. It looks like she's doing great work, and she's out there making it happen. But to her question, she's like, how do I move from custom to wholesale? It's a tough thing, right? And as I answer, I'm going to kind of set this up a little more, because I have to acknowledge the fact that when you're in the midst of this challenge, it is a really big challenge, right? So me telling you things like, well, just stop it, right? Or just don't do that anymore. That's the stance for someone who's maybe made some of those changes already, and not completely, because I still do some level of custom here. But I realize, it's transition. It's not all or nothing. And I think that's the way you have to look at it, is like, hey, what can I cut out now? What custom work can I get rid of now to allow myself to start doing more of these bigger jobs, right? It's not tomorrow when I go in my shop, I'm going to say, I'm never going to do these things again. I don't even do that, right? And maybe one day I will be able to do it, but I can't. And I'll be honest with you, the young ladies I have working in the retail store for me, they hate me for it, because they're like, you don't have time for this. Don't do this anymore. But I do remember there was a point in which I started saying things like, well, how long does it take me to make that one custom item? Let's just say in my case, maybe it's a tooled belt. And everybody knows I don't do a ton of tooling stuff. So if I take on a tooled belt, it may be a $400 or $500 belt. Cool. But how many of my production belts could I have done in that same amount of time? Okay. You may say, well, I'm not in a position to turn down jobs. Yeah, I know that's tough to turn down money, right? Especially when you're trying to make ends meet and things are slow. The problem is, if we don't say no to certain things like that, we will never have capacity to do the other stuff. So, and sometimes what we have to do is say, hey, I know that $400 or $500 check would be great right now. However, I need to go out on a limb and say, I'm going to say no to this job so I can instead go make those 5, 10, actually probably more like 20 of my standard belts to put on the shelf in the same amount of time, right? And then know and have trust in myself and my work and my brand that those are going to sell, right? Custom work takes you away from production work. It is what it is, right? And unless you're one of the few people that can more like artist level stuff, there's a few people out there where they can run their entire business off of doing custom high-end leather work in these really detailed jobs, because they're going to charge a ton for it. They can do custom wallet for $1,500. Those aren't my customers. I can't run the business off of one wallet job a month or one belt job a month. I've got to run the business off of having some volume. And that's what I go looking for. Now, in terms of how do you generate this? Well, the first thing is you have to be open to it, right? You got to be open. When someone comes to you and says, hey, can you make, 100 belts? Before you say no, well, first, don't take on jobs that you can't fulfill, right? It's too much of a risk to your brand and to yourself and to your stress, especially if you got another job going on. Don't do yourself like that. But also, don't be so quick to say no. What I mean by that is, it's better for you to say, yes, I and my team can do this job. And your team may include another leather worker. If you have other leather workers or other makers in your area, wherever everyone's hustling, it's better for you to take a part of a dollar than to say no and get $0 at all, right? Feel free to call other leather workers and say, hey, before I tell this customer no to this 100 belt order, what if I do this and you do that? Would you like some of that? Would you like to share the dollar on this? That's better than saying completely no at all. I mean, that's a great way to work your way into wholesale work, especially if you're talking about doing these bigger jobs, right? Maybe you don't have a team of people right now. Maybe you don't have the workshop capabilities. Maybe you don't have a machine that you need to do those bigger orders. Well, can you reach out to other leather workers, other shops that will help? Everyone is out here trying to make ends meet. Everyone's out here trying to hustle. I know my shop, we do this. No one would know this. We do this for lots of people. They need a bunch of pieces cut. They don't have the ability to do it in their own shop. You'll never know that we are the ones that do it. I'm not going to share any names here, right? But yeah, we'll click them all out for you. Yeah, we'll do the edge burnishing for you. Yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that, whatever. We'll send it right back to them. Pay me this amount. And then they do that job. They do a really good job. They had support. We supported them, right? But they're able to get another job because of it. And that job now pays for them to maybe get the machinery or the tools they need to do the job on their own next time. And if not, they can come right back to us again. We'll help them out. They don't need to know about us, right? There are other leather workers out there trying to do these jobs. Don't say no until you've exhausted all the possibilities. Don't be afraid to reach out to other people to help. And then the other that is knowing, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but you also have to understand what you want out of your business, right? If you want to be a custom shop, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Understand your metrics, understand your numbers, go forth and conquer, right? But if that's not what you want to do, you eventually have to start turning the corner. And I look at our business as kind of like cruise ships. At least mine has been like a cruise ship, right? Cruise ship can go anywhere it wants in the ocean. But to turn left or right, it takes a while to get there, right? They're not turning on dime. These aren't speedboats, right? So I'm pointing in one direction today, and I decide I need to turn my cruise ship a different direction. I start making a slow turn. Eventually, I get there, right? I'm course correcting, if you will. It's probably more like marine way of saying I'm going to course correct to this direction here. And if wholesale is the course correction you want to make, okay, what does it take to make that turn? I've got to do less of this and more of this. I've got to start positioning myself like this and less like that. If people only know me as a custom shop, they probably aren't thinking about me doing brand work and large orders. If I never show that on my Instagram, I never show that, when I'm doing pop-ups or talk about when I'm doing pop-ups, no one else is ever going to know about it. Start talking about your business in the direction, in the way, in the direction you want it to go. Now, another piece of this is sometimes these wholesale jobs require you to have funding. They require you to have capital to be able to spend on these things. I think there's some changes you have to make with regards to how you're billing people. A lot of the custom shops I talk to, Soulbound, I don't know if you're like this. I really doubt you are, because I see kind of things you do on Instagram. But they are running their business off of hopes and dreams that people are going to pay them for work that they've already done. Nope, don't do it, right? I will tell everyone that is, ask for the money up front and deliver what people are paying you for. When you go into wholesale, as I'm really talking about more like bulk orders than wholesale. I do need to come back to wholesale in a moment, but on bulk orders, you have to be able to buy all that material up front. It's an investment. The bigger job I talked about earlier in this episode, when I used 3,000 pieces, all that's got to be bought up front. Okay. Well, ideally, I'm going to get at least a deposit on most of that. And in most cases, I don't take deposits. I take money up front, period. I give my prices. I tell them what the payment terms are, money up front for these things. And I don't flinch when I do it. And if you don't flinch, the customer will believe that's the way it is. So you have to change some things like that around. Don't hold the bag for these large jobs if you don't have to. Okay. Now, let me course correct in my conversation a little bit, because I'm talking about bulk orders. Wholesale is different. Wholesale is I'm making products for someone else to sell in their shop or their retail place, right? Make sure it is wholesale, not consignment. There's two different things. Consignment is completely different, right? Wholesale, a lot of people are going to ask for keystone pricing, meaning they want 50% off, right? So whenever you give your pricing, before you give your pricing, I'll talk about Soulbound real quick. Maybe she has a sheath or a belt that she makes on a regular basis. If she sells that belt in her store, her retail store, for $100, if she's going to wholesale that belt, they're going to most likely ask her for keystone pricing, which is going to be 50% of that, $50 they want that belt for. Well, I learned along the way that I'm not a good wholesale shop, to be honest with you guys. I'm a good bulk shop. I sell a lot of bulk orders, but I don't do a lot of wholesale. My pricing is not set up in a way where I could give away 50% of my margin to others, right? If you want Odin leather good products, you're going to have to buy those products from Odin Leather Goods. I do bulk, but they don't get wholesale pricing for that. Then the pricing around bulk is based on you buying a lot of those items at once, right? You buy, it kind of just scale essentially in production. You're buying a lot of, you're buying 100 of them. I can lower the price for you when you buy that many of them, but it's not really wholesale. There's also things to consider, like, well, when you're wholesaling, it's going to have your logo on it, right? My logo, my maker mark on it. So there's some marketing value there, things like that. If someone comes to you and say they want to give you, they want a wholesale price, but they don't want your logo on something, I don't always say no to that, but I will say that's not wholesale. That's white label. That's a white label job. You're asking me to manufacture goods for you. That's a different discussion. And the pricing for manufacturing is completely different from wholesaling. Wholesaling, it's my product in your store. You make a little money, I make a little money. Again, I'm not really well set up for that. I don't have the margins in my work to do that. I wish I would have set my life up, my business up for that years ago. right? When I first got started, that's the course maybe I should have been on. I'm not there now, right? That's not really what we do. There are a few products that we make that we put on Fair and these other outlets that we are wholesaling, but these are like, these are bulk items that are easy for us to make, high margin items. We can do that. We don't mind sharing margin on these things. So maybe we already have 80% margin on anyway. To give a little of that away is not a big deal, just for the sake of getting our products out elsewhere. But in most cases, if you want to Odin Leather Goods products, you're going to have to come to one of my outlets: OdinLeatherGoods.com, Odin Leather Goods Retail Grandscape, Odin Leather Goods Retail Old Town. If you want us to manufacture goods for you to resell with your name on it or without my name on it, different pricing structure. If you want to buy bulk because you're going to give all these items away, different pricing structure, right? And it's a mistake to conflate those things and mix those things together. So let me pause. I need some questions. Give me some questions real quick, right? Because I can see you looking at me. Help me process this information a little better.
Well, I think I'm just listening because I think, in my day job, a significant part of my role is just to kind of ask, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And so as I hear you say about all these different ways to go about, making money through your leather work, just depending on kind of how it's structured, I do think that part of the question that has to be answered before you really look at how you can do any of them is, why do you want to do them in the first place? Is it because you want to be able to hire people to help you do production? Is it because you're just burnt out dealing with customers? I think that's kind of, before anybody can pick which one of those makes the most sense, I do think that you really kind of have to get some clarity on what is the problem I'm trying to solve by pursuing this. What if I could do this effectively, what would be different and better about my business? And that'll define.
That's it. Okay, that's exactly why we need diversity of thought. I mean, that's a good example. The why question is really important. Why would I or anyone else want to do wholesale? I would venture to say most people say, because I want more business. I got to make more money. I want to make more stuff. But you got to give half of your margin away. If my goal is to build a manufacturing space here, wholesale's the way to go, right? Because manufacturing is about volume. I want to build more value. I want more people. I want to have a dang near sweatshop in here of cranking out, $5, I don't know what it is, $5 tote bags in here all day, every day, right? It's a volume game, right? The more I make, better margins I have, I can buy supplies at a better rate, all the stuff, and I'm going to wholesale. I don't want to be in the game of selling to customers. I don't want to be in the game of having retail spaces and things like that. My game is to make volume and sell to other people. I'm going to make it for $5. I'm going to sell it to you for $10, and you're going to sell it for $20. Okay, basically I'm Amazon at that point. I personally, that's not the space I want to be in. I don't want to be in full scale manufacturing. I like interacting with customers, and I am interested in building the Odin Leather Goods brand. And where we are right now, we are not a place where we need to have the Odin Leather Goods brand in 50 different outlets, right? It may come to that one day, but that's not where we are right now. And certainly maybe we have to invest in more manufacturing production capabilities at some point. Right now, instead of me giving away my margin, it's where I've got customers knocking on the door. Instead of me giving away margin right now, I'd rather take the margin I would have given away doing a wholesale deal and put it back into marketing, put it back into other shop capabilities so I can sell more of my brand stuff through my outlets. Okay, so again, use a soul balance example. She can either give away on $100 belt, whatever it is. She either give away the $50 to a new retailer to sell the belts for her, or she can take the $50 and put it back into her business. Now, if she's already ramped up to where she can crank out more belts, and she's like, hey, if you have more capacity in your shop, meaning you're only selling 10 belts a month right now, but you can make 1,000 belts, and you've got people beating on your door trying to get you to put their belts in their outlets, well, that may make sense. You got more capacity than you do customers. Cool. Wholesale is maybe a good way to go. But if it is actually, no, I can produce more belts, I just need more customers, well, you put your money, figure out where the money goes. Now, you could also say going into wholesale could be more of a marketing play, right? Because these outlets, and I'll be honest, I have done this before where I'm like, hey, I'm going to sell these products at a wholesale price. I'm going to really lose money on this because it's more valuable for me to have my product in this outlet, downtown Dallas, in this fancy hotel, because I'm going to be more visible there. Okay, but that's a marketing decision at that point, not really a business strategy. It's more of a brand awareness play than anything, right? And that does happen occasionally too. But answering the why question, why do I want to consider wholesale? If it's simply because, well, I got to sell more, I want it. Well, okay, how is wholesale going to help you achieve that? Really consider it. Will it? Will it not? Can I use that margin and reinvest it someplace else? Is it more machinery to up this? Is it more marketing dollars? If I don't give away, there's other ways to look at it.
Think about what types of jobs that you could take to kind of experiment with this as well, right?
Yeah.
So before you go all in, do you maybe look for opportunities where, okay, my next step, my first stepping stone is going to be to sell 10 belts together. Well, how do you do that? Well, maybe find like a wedding party or something, right? And they just want the initials of the groomsmen on the belt. So it's still slightly custom, right? But it's a 10-piece order, or a sorority or fraternity, right? Like that they have an event that a lot of those places have a lot of money too, but those are the kind of things that you may try out to say, hey, I have this opportunity. I made 20 of the same belt. And man, I hated that. That felt like soul death to me because I didn't find any creativity in that. And that's probably a really important thing to figure out before you go and buy a $12,000 machine.
Going back to the why question, not doing custom to do wholesale is not necessarily the jump, right? Not doing custom by itself is a decision unto its own, right? It has nothing to do with doing bulk, has nothing to do with doing wholesale. It is custom eating your soul away. For me, it was, at least the way I was doing it, right? Is allowing a customer to come here and tell me or ask me for every little detail, and I'm spending hours with them figuring these things out, only to circle back to the first set of options I gave in the first place. And that is really tough. Going to a pop-up show and people looking at your table and saying, well, I really like this wallet if you only had it in fuchsia. Can you make it in fuchsia? Knowing that, I can make it in fuchsia. And you rush home. That's a lot to live off. And I think my first few years, I would do that. I would go to pop-ups. And I would sell, but if you don't like this color, because I'm anxious, if you don't like this color, I could make it over here. And people walk in the store. Hey, I make everything in the store. I make all these items. If you don't see the color you want, let me know. I could probably make one for you. I don't do that anymore. If you give customers all these options, they will absolutely take all the options. If you give them all the thread colors and all the leather colors and all these things, they will take all the time. And that sales process lengthens and lengthens and lengthens. However, if you say you can have any color you want so long as it's black, brown, and tan, and black thread and brown thread, they will still buy the same amount of stuff from you. And they'll buy it faster than if they have to go through this customization process with you. Go online today and look at some of the more successful brands, whether it be leather or clothing or whatever. They don't let you customize things. Right? And the ones that do, it is in a very controlled environment. They make you feel like you're getting something totally custom, but really you're choosing from a finite set of options that that they control. A really good example of this is the ladies over at Gladden Young Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. They run a phenomenal business. They make great products. They have a retail store. They have this wall of bags, essentially. And ladies, I apologize if I'm getting the details wrong, but still, it's going to hold true because you guys do great work. If you're listening, hope you are. They have a wall of bags like fanny packs. And if you go on the website, you can get fanny packs in 1,000 different colors, and they give you a bag option, hardware option, strap options, things like that. And I'm sure it makes the customer feel as if they're making a custom bag just for them. But in fact, the ladies have already decided what options they have. We have made these bag bodies in these 15 colors, these straps in these colors, and hardware. And they've already figured out that no matter what they choose, tick, 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 put it together and have the bag together in 5 minutes. Right? It's a perception of customization. Really, it's a finite set of choices for customers. That's still, customers love that, but they figured out what works for their business and what doesn't. So if you're truly doing custom work in your business, I think you have to ask yourself a question: do you have to, or can you narrow the options down to something more manageable for you? Don't offer things you really don't want to do.
You talk about customization, though. I do think that there is some value in establishing colors as part of your brand sometimes, though. We had the opportunity to interview Dave Munson earlier in the year with Saddleback Leather, and a Saddleback bag when you see it, and largely that is because of the tobacco color leather that his team uses, and they use it for their bags, for their wallets, for their belts. And so it gives you the option to purchase a number of items and accessories that go together. But there's a few options in colors, but for the most part, people are going to default to that tobacco color that they're known for. but it's also not a color that you can get everywhere else. And so there's even a little bit of strategy to limiting some of those colors to have a bit of a signature look.
I got another brand for you, Leather Satchel Co. They're the opposite of Dave, where Dave has that one brand color. He has a few colors now, but I mean, his color is really well established. This is what a saddleback bag looks like, right? So Leather Satchel Co., they offer a classic style, look and feel, like it's an old school, like European school bag, essentially. But they also let you customize the bag, any color, every part of the bag can be this color, that color, all this kind of stuff. But while it feels custom, it actually is very finite, right? They have a formula. You pick the back color, you pick the accent color, you pick, and all the things are probably already cut out. They're not like, oh, Magnus ordered this thing online today and it's custom color. Now I've got to go find the leather and I've got to go put the parts together. I got to cut them and all this kind of, no, there's probably someone that checks the order form. They just walk down the line, they grab the back part, they click, put them together, and someone stitches them together because they've already figured out that formula. That's where I strive to be. Any customization that I offer in my store, I want it to be predetermined what the options are and the impact of those choices. I don't want to blue sky things. That would be more like a bespoke thing. And there are certainly folks out there that run the business off of this bespoke model. Everything is totally custom. You come to them, some saddle makers are like this. There's nothing that exists until they have a conversation with a customer. They source the materials, but they're probably they should be charging prices that account for the customer conversation, the back and forth with emails, the potential for change, the time it takes. I know when I do customers, I mean, the spending time on the phone or email, going back and forth, explaining things, that needs to be accounted for. If you're not doing that in your custom business right now, you're missing out. And that's probably what's driving you crazy. I mean, if you want to do fewer projects per month and you want to do, you want to charge more for it, okay, go custom. If you want to do a pure volume of the same item over and over again, you need to probably go wholesale and you're going to do volume and sell it to other retailers. If you want to be in the sweet spot, right? Well, I say sweet spot for me. If you want to be right in the middle, it is figure out what your product line is, figure out what you want to do, what you don't want to do, okay? And come up with a template and formula for how that's going to work and going to generate revenue for you. That's where I am, right? For the artists out there, the passion-filled people that could either help you thrive and live well and be in a great space, or it could be soul eating, right? Because you're not doing custom work. Some people thrive on that. They wanted the variety. I don't want the variety, right? I need a little variety. I need like 10% variety in my life, and the rest of it needs to be systematized so I can teach other people how to do it and grow and scale the business, and I can get back to doing books and things like that. But if you need the constant variety, well, then you got to figure out a way to get your price higher to support that pure bespoke and that pure custom work. It's one way or the other way. Doing them both at the same time, really tough. Any custom work that I do now, like when I'm tooling, I'm only able to do the tooling work in my business because I've got guys in the back that are helping me with the production work. If not, every time I sit down to do a tool belt, I'd be losing money because the production work is not being done. It took me a while to get there, and that's I got there by growing the team.
That was a great question, prompted some great conversation, and we encourage anybody who's listening, reach out to us through Instagram, through Facebook. We want to address your questions because chances are if you have that question, there's other people who are also curious. So we appreciate you, Soulbound Leather, for reaching out on Instagram and sharing that question, and looking forward to some other questions from the audience in the future. But I will say that that is probably a good place to start to wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts or kind of last little pieces to add in for this particular episode?
No, I mean, I think as people can probably tell, I get fired about these things. These are things like questions I get excited about. So I love the questions. I hope they keep on coming through. I think I've already given some ideas. We usually end with giving some tidbits like, here's a resource to you. You talked about some books earlier in the episode. And I think even talking about this last question, I threw some out there. So I won't go back and try to throw more on top of that. We'll let them stand as they are.
If anybody is interested in reaching out, the social channels are Beyond the Workbench, which is on Instagram and Facebook. We also have a Patreon and hopefully a YouTube now.
Yeah.
And then there's also Odin has his channels.
Yep. Odin Leather Goods, or Odin Leather on Instagram, and Odin Leather Goods on YouTube.
And you can reach out to me at Magnus Opus on Instagram or on Facebook through my personal page. I'm connected with quite a few of you guys there already anyway. So
send Magnus lots of questions to force him to get on Instagram and stay on Instagram. That's what we want to do. So more questions the merrier, and I'll field them where I can. And we're both pretty active, and we're answering things as they come through. So don't hesitate to reach out to us in any of those channels. Yeah, been another good conversation, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Post-production by Instrumental Media.